So the rest of the story fits within that range of. So you come out.
Katikkiro bonna ab'Abuganda abali mu kifo kino tusanyuse nnyo okubalaba n'abakungu.
In Uganda, now faced with an exploding population, its price, especially in the urban areas, is constantly escalating. Makerere University is privileged to have the main campus covering over 300 acres of prime real estate located only 5 kilometers from the Kampala city center. In addition, we have over 40 acres housing the campus at Mulago, the Kasangati Health Center along Gayaza Road, and the Makerere University Agricultural Research Institute, Kavanyolo, along the Gayaza-Zirombwe Road. The men and women who secured this land had an incredible vision, not just for academic purposes, but for research, agriculture, community outreach, and staff welfare. They acquired land for staff housing estates in Kololo, Katalemwa, Makindye, Makerere North, and Bwaise. Such was the foresightedness of men and women like Nsibirwa, Martin Luther Nsibirwa.
Our beloved main administration building was gutted by fire on 20th September 2020. Uganda Kingdom was the first cultural institution to express solidarity with Makerere University. On 1st October 2020, we received the Katikkiro's delegation led by my OB, Owekitiibwa Robert Wagwa Nsibirwa. I wish to thank the Kingdom of Uganda for standing with us at that difficult time, and I wish to report that the reconstruction of our iconic building has commenced.
He was only to execute his duties for only a few months before being felled by an assassin's bullet at Namirembe Cathedral in the morning of the 5th of September 1945. Now let's look at Nsibirwa and Makerere. But for starters, Nsibirwa's assassination was shocking to the nation, as you can imagine. There was a lot of speculation then about the identity of the assassin or assassins. There was also plenty of speculation about the likely motive. Some thought it might have been something to do with the Namasole affair. Others speculated that it might be something to do with Nsibirwa's retrenchment of many officials upon his reappointment as Katikkiro in 1945. This is what he did when he regained the Damula, when he became Katikkiro again. All those people who were unkind to him, he kicked them where it hurts. He kicked them. He was also very uncharitable to them. So some people feared that perhaps these were the conspirators. But the predominant narrative was that Nsibirwa was killed for his role in acquiring land for the expansion of Makerere College. It has been ably explained by his daughter. Indeed, one George William Senka Atuka, an ex-King's African Rifles serviceman, was arrested in Bakuri, tried in the High Court and convicted for Nsibirwa's murder on that basis. But certainly, giving land to the government, the colonial government, to expand Makerere was not well received nearly at every level within the kingdom. People didn't have the kind of foresight that Nsibirwa had. They say the college already has land. What's the problem with this Katikkiro? You start by allowing the Namasole to remarry. You come back from your village and now you're giving our kingdom property, Baganda land. Probably that was the reason he was killed.
In 1945, and almost none of you here were born. Nsibirwa was born in 1983 in Engeri County in in present-day Mukono district. This was 30 years before Makerere institution, in its original form down there, understand, was born in 1922. And he was by then a Gomora chief in Kasao, Kavwe. Needless to say, due to the date of his birth, he never had any formal schooling. It was his maternal uncle, Temtewo Mrongo, who took him to the home of Katikkiro of Uganda. And he lived there as a page boy, where he then learned to serve elders and to run errands. Page learned serving, good manners, and respecting people. That was his basic and ultimate education, or schooling. I can say he got education later through being under Aprokabwa. But schooling, he didn't have more than that.
Made available to all members of society on what economists call non-excludable and non-rivalrous basis. Economists like Professor Gobi, I think. A good is non-excludable if it is free. That is available to everyone without a charge being made for it. A good is said to be non-rivalrous if it can be enjoyed by many consumers at once without anyone's consumer's enjoyment of it affecting the enjoyment of another. Roads are a good example of public goods. Once constructed, everyone and anyone can use it, the road, free of charge. I know there are tolls around Busega there. And my proper use of that road should not derogate from the enjoyment of the same road by another person. National defense or law enforcement are also frequently given as examples of public goods. So it is highly debatable whether higher education, such as is offered here at Makerere, is a public good. It's highly debatable. It is largely no longer free of charge. It is also not non-rivalrous in the sense that even though the university has been expanding, there is a limit to the number of students that can be admitted before standards begin to drop perilously. There is a limit. So if we are going to talk about education, then perhaps we should focus on what the economists call the positive externalities of the consumption of education by a few. A positive externality is said to exist if the consumption of a good or service by one person benefits a third party who has not consumed the good or service himself or herself. Education of a few individuals can have an incalculably beneficial effect on society as a whole and can even come to be appreciated as a public good. I mean, a doctor is going to treat the public. One doctor who qualifies, like the late Rose Nsibirwa was a doctor. She handled medical issues of so many people. And I think the impact of that one person is incalculable. The leaders of our native institutions, of whom Nsibirwa was an outstanding example, implicitly understood the value and positive externality of education. This trend started right from Ssekabaka Ssuuna II, who was the first Kabaka of Buganda to come into contact with distant and more technological advanced foreigners. But I think that was perhaps best personified by Ssekabaka Mutesa I. In his famed letter to Queen Victoria, Mutesa I, written in 1875, about a decade before Nsibirwa was born, Mutesa's primary request was for Queen Victoria to send experts, abakugu mu byamagezi, that's how he coined it, who could teach him and the people of Buganda so that Buganda could achieve the same level of technological advancement as Britain.